Good morning. We're just going to give folks a moment to join from the waiting room. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until you are appearing or testifying before the board. Give just another moment to make sure everyone is in from the waiting room and has connected to audio. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm chair of the Boston Licensing Board, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you. Once again, please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. Again, all testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. Begin with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling item number 1, Good Time Hospitality LLC, doing business as the Flamingo, located at 266 Commercial Street. Dated the incident November 24th, 2022. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green. Madam Chair, members of the board, John Aida, McDermott Quilter Miller on behalf of the licensee. Joining me this morning is Tyrone DeStacy, the manager of record, as well as the owner, and the on-duty manager, James Sullivan.
Great, thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective McDonough, Officer Alvin on here, Lieutenant Detective Troy.
Thank you. I do not believe I see either of them, so thank you, Lieutenant Detective. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you. Lieutenant Detective Troy, if you could please proceed reading the police report into the record.
Reading from a police report authored by Officer Alvin, reads as follows: at about 8:15 on Thursday, November 24th, Officer Alvin, while assigned to the front desk, took a walk-in report for an assault and battery report at 40 New Sudbury Street, Boston. The victim, self-identified as Franco Celeste, stated that he was violently assaulted and threatened last night at the Flamingo, 266 Commercial Street. The victim, Celeste, said that on Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022 at 11:30 p.m. he was out drinking with friends when he was confronted by an individual known to him from the neighborhood as David Gomes. The victim stated that Mr. Gomes, suspect number 1, approached him inside the bar, pretended to say hello, and then abruptly headbutted him, causing him to sustain minor bruising to his forehead and a minor laceration to his lip. The victim stated after a brief struggle ensued, prompting several staff members and management to call 911. The victim stated that prior to the officer's arrival, suspect number 1 returned to the entryway of the Flamingo with his brother, suspect number 2, Robert Gomes, and began wildly waving a small red baseball bat towards him and several onlookers while shouting, "I'll kill you." The victim stated that both suspects then fled the area in a Jeep similar to a sports utility vehicle with unknown tags. The victim is unaware of either of the suspects may be in possession of other weapons or firearms. However, he wishes to report the incidents for documentation purposes only. The victim stated he is afraid of further confrontation with both Gomes brothers and will call 911 in case of an additional incident. Officer Alvin conducted an event query on NetViewer for 911 calls associated with the Flamingos address at 266 Commercial Street. Results for this query revealed that an emergency 911 call was placed on 11/23/22 at 11:52 p.m. by Steve Austin from the same address. That the computer-aided dispatch notes revealed that A1 officers rapidly responded to the premises following the 911 call. However, all parties were gone on arrival. There's a supplementary report written by Detective McDonough. It reads as follows. On December 4th at 9:20, the Alpha 935 Sergeant Detective Salucci and Detective McDonough responded to Flamingo's restaurant at 266 Commercial Street to issue a license premise violation. Detective spoke to manager Brian Waldman and issued license premise violation for assault and battery patron on the premises. Mr. Waldman was cooperative and signed for the violation. And just reading from the detective's notes here, it says that the detective called the victim back and he said he was doing fine. He said he's not interested in pressing charges. So the case was closed.
Thank you very much. Attorney Aida, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. I don't have any questions for the lieutenant. However, I would suggest to you that following the police report, and as stated in there, the staff took every appropriate action during and after this incident. You have a victim who apparently knew the suspect. The suspect approached him and it looks like he was going to speak with him, say hello to him. And the next thing you know, he headbutts the victim, presumably out of nowhere. Certainly this is nothing that was foreseeable to have happened. In any event, the staff immediately intervened. They took action. They did call 911 and the suspect was escorted outside. As stated in the report, the licensee fully cooperated with the police. And as the evidence shows, this was an unforeseeable event. Nothing prompted this. And as soon as it happened, the staff took the appropriate action. Either the owner, Mr. DeStacy, is available. He was not there that evening, but Mr. Sullivan was, if you have any questions for them.
Thank you for that, Attorney Aida. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Mr. Sullivan, what was your role on this night?
I'm the manager on duty.
Okay, and how long would you say that the struggle ensued?
It was seconds.
Okay, and I think I see a note here that maybe there was a police note that approximately 15 people were fighting. Would you say that's accurate?
No.
Okay, what would you say?
No, it was just one individual, the aggressor, and the individual that filed the complaint. He had friends, the individual that filed complaint, who was separating. And then we also had patrons outside who were waiting to get in, along with our staff who was making sure that all parties stayed separated. So it wasn't a large fight, but there was just a large group of people outside.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
None from me, thanks.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Calling item number 2, GM Restaurant Enterprises, Inc., doing business as La Terraza, located at 19 Bennington Street in East Boston. Date of the incident, November 16th, 2022, fight in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Thank you, Secretary Green. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Ryan Gosda on behalf of the licensee. With me this morning is Jose Velada, who is the general manager for the restaurant.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective James.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth? Oh, excuse me. Hi. Yep, Mr.
Yeah, I was there that night of November 16th for a call regarding they had like a verbal dispute at that place.
Okay, and you were wishing to testify this morning?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Could you please just identify yourself?
I'm Officer Mackinson with the Boston Police Department.
Great, thank you very much. Can you all please raise your right hand? Those who plan to testify. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Detective James, will you be reading the police report? Today?
All right, this is Detective James, sir.
Yes.
At about 3:04 a.m. on November 16, 2022, officers respond to a radio call for verbal dispute at La Teresa, located 30 Bennington Street. Upon arrivals, officer met with manager, witness identified Jose Velada. Velada stated two of his waitresses were having a verbal dispute over tips. The two girls was identified as Kelly Martinez, Mariantonia Ecovera. Martinez admitted that she and Ecovera were having an argument over tips and that Ecovera had hit her, which Ecovera denied. Velada stated that this was not the first time Martinez is arguing over tips with co-workers. Velada also stated that a few months ago, Martinez was suspended for a month because of this behavior. Velada said that he saw the whole argument and had to separate the girls, and also denied the allegation that Ecovera had hit Martinez. All right. On my next report, sir, at about 9:45 p.m., Detective James, Detective Samaras, and Detective Montesino went to 19 Bennington, La Teresa, to do a code 35. Detective did a code 35 for a fight that was reported at 3:04 a.m. on 11/16. Citation number 001153 was issued. And on my last report, sir, Detective James was, after talking to victim Karen Martinez Salazar, was told by her that the suspect, Mariantonia, I might be pronouncing it wrong, Mariantonia Ecovera, has pushed her while they were in the club. The victim stated that she did not want to go forward with this case and only wanted to report John just in case there was other problems in the future with Mariantonia. That's it, sir.
Thank you, Detective James. Attorney Gosda, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, just a few brief questions for the detective.
Yes, sir.
By all accounts, was the licensee cooperative when the officer showed up to the premise?
Yes, sir.
And would it also be fair to say that their staff and the manager assisted the officers to investigate the allegations?
Yes, they did.
Thank you. I have nothing further for the detective. Just a few quick questions for the manager as well. Mr. Velada, if you could briefly introduce yourself.
Good morning, Jose Villada.
And you were present at the restaurant on the night of November 16th, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you have personal knowledge of the facts that we're discussing this morning?
Yes.
Okay. To the best of your recollection, just can you give me a brief summary of your recollection of what had happened?
Yeah, so I was working that night, and then we finished the night 2 a.m. I'm cashing out, and then they started arguing about tips. So I got out the bar. I told them to separate each other. I didn't want them close to each other. At no moment I saw either one hit each other. One of the girls, Kelly Martinez, she was screaming and screaming. And then she says, I'm going to call the police. And then she says, then you don't want me to call the police. So I'm like, I'll call them myself. I call the police myself just for a safety matter, so it could be on record. But at no moment I saw either one hit each other.
Okay, and this was after closing. There were no patrons inside the premise.
There was no patrons. Yeah, myself and 3 wait staffs.
Okay, and I believe you already said it, but did you witness any physical altercation between the two employees?
No.
Now, are either of these two employees still employed at La Terraza?
They're not.
Okay. I have nothing further. I would just state in closing that the licensee, upon immediately recognizing the altercation going on when they were closing, immediately intervened to try to de-escalate the situation. When it was clear that there was an allegation of a physical touching, he contacted the police himself so that there would be an investigation and all that this would be on record somewhere. And again, neither of the two employees are currently employed at the restaurant any longer, but we're happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you, Attorney Gazda. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Thank you. I have no questions.
Commissioner Curran?
None for me, thank you.
Commissioner Saxon?
None for me either. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this under advisement as well.
Thank you.
Calling item number 3, GSTH Investment Group LLC, doing business as Bijou and Rock and Rye, located at 51 Stewart Street, stated the incident December 11th, 2022. Failure to report armed security to the Boston Licensing Board in violation of Master General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board, John Aida, McDermott, Quilty and Miller, on behalf of the licensee. Joining me is Mete Aslan, who's the manager of record, as well as David Smith, who is the security staff manager and person with personal knowledge of the events.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Edward Lucas.
Thank you, Officer Lucas. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Detective William Gallagher.
Detective Eddie Hernandez.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So,
Thank you. Officer Lucas, will you be reading the police report into the record?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may proceed.
About 2:22 a.m. on Sunday, 12/11/22, officers Lucas and Scott in the Alpha 103 responded to a radio call for a person with a gun at Bijou Nightclub, 51 Stewart Street, Boston. Multiple other units were responding. Upon arrival, officers spoke with the victim, Nikhil Gallipali, who stated that after an argument regarding his jacket inside, an unidentified male opened his jacket and revealed what Gallipali believed to be a firearm. Gallipali could only describe the suspect as a black male with braided hair wearing black clothing. Officers spoke with David Smith, who was managing the security staff at Bijou. Officers inquired as to if the staff was armed. Officers directly asked Smith if he had a firearm, to which he stated yes. Officers frisked Smith and retrieved a firearm from his right hip in a concealed holster. Smith stated he was licensed and immediately provided his mass license to carry number 129886884A with an expiration date of 6/22/25. Gallipali looked at Smith and immediately denied him being involved. Smith stated that no other security staff at the establishment were armed and that he's the only individual permitted to carry a firearm during work. Smith stated that Gallipali caused an issue inside the facility while attempting to get his coat without correct ticket. Gallipali was escorted off the property. Gallipali stated the suspect appeared to be associating with the staff, but could not determine that he actually worked at Bijou. Gallipali stated that the suspect walked down Stewart Street prior to officers' arrival. Gallipali left the scene shortly after. Smith's firearm was returned to him prior to officers leaving the scene. The Alpha 914, Sergeant McIsaac, was notified of the incident for a code 35.
Thank you. And Sergeant Detective Gallagher, it looks like we have a supplemental.
Yes, Sergeant Detective Gallagher here. I followed up with the supplemental on 12/15/2022 at 11:32 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to Licensed Premise Unit, responded to Club Bijou at 51 Stewart Street to follow up on an incident that occurred on 12/11/2022 at 2:22 a.m. During that incident, the patron of Bijou claimed he observed a holstered firearm on the hip of a man he was arguing with over a lost coat. He believed that man to be a Bijou employee. Patron in turn called 911 to report what he observed. Responding officers were unable to locate the man in question, but did speak with another Bijou employee who cooperated with officers and provided his valid LTC and firearm. Officers verified the license was active and the employee had not violated any laws. The firearm and license were returned to the employee. Further investigation by licensed premise unit detectives revealed that Club Bijou had not informed the Boston Licensing Board of Armed Security on Premise. As a result, on 12/15/2022, Sergeant Gallagher issued a licensed premise inspection notice number 059751 to Bijou for failure to report armed security on premise to Boston Licensing Board. Mr. Mete Aslan signed for and accepted the notice. Those are the facts.
Thank you very much. Attorney Aida, would you like to address the incident?
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, Officer Lucas, in your investigation, did the staff cooperate with you?
Yes, they did.
And same question to you, Sergeant Detective Gallagher. In your return to the premises, did the staff cooperate in your investigation?
Yes, sir, they did.
And I put forth to the board essentially that the staff did everything they could to cooperate fully. And, you know, they were brought to the scene, a report of a person with a gun, had conversations with Mr. Smith, who immediately informed them that he was himself armed, provided the valid license to carry, and, you know, surrendered the firearm at that point, and then it was returned to him by the police before they left. Again, this is, they did everything they could to cooperate, and following the follow-up visit with Sergeant Detective Gallagher, we did provide, licensee did provide through counsel a letter to the licensing board regarding those individuals that would be possessing firearms on the premises. So they did everything they could to answer and cooperate in the investigation. And Mr. Smith is available specifically if you had any questions as well.
Who's the manager of record here?
This is Mete Aslan, who is also on the call.
Mete, how long have you been the manager of record?
Oh, you're on mute right now, Mr. Aslan. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
How long have you been manager of record?
I've been there 11 years since we opened after the pandemic.
Are you familiar with our rules and regulations?
I'm sorry?
Are you familiar with our rules and regulations?
When I spoke to Sergeant Gallagher, he informed me that we needed to have, we have to inform the board of anybody that's carrying, and then that's when I spoke to our attorney and we sent him the letter.
Okay, are you familiar with our rules and regulations?
Yes, now I am.
Okay, this is a very important rule and regulation. You're putting Boston Police, your patrons, your staff in danger by not notifying us when someone's carrying a weapon. Boston Police went in there to respond to something and they would not have known who was carrying a weapon.
I understand.
So as manager of record of 11 years, I think you failed to understand and appreciate this particular rule and regulation. I don't have any other questions or comments. Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon, do you?
Do we have any better idea of who this other individual might have been?
We do.
We do not.
Do we think he existed?
Is David on the, I wasn't there that night. David Smith and Joey Ghanem were there. But from what I was told, that the gentleman said that the person that he saw that might have had the gun had a vest on, and we didn't see anybody from the video footage or anything like that.
And just for clarification, you know, there's no confirmation that it actually was someone with a firearm. It was just that person that called in believed it to be. And I know, speaking with Mete and Joseph as well on the staff, that they do frisks of the patrons as well. So they believe it'd be highly unlikely that that was an actual firearm.
Okay. So on the night, you intended to allow this individual to have a firearm, correct? You just had
David Smith, yes, he's allowed, yes.
Okay. Do you have any other staff members on staff at all at any time that you had intended to allow to carry firearms?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Something's wrong with my video, audio.
On the night of, did you have any other employees that you intended to allow to carry firearms?
That night, it was only David Smith, and the only other person that is allowed is my partner, George Abujawdi, who has a license to carry.
Okay. So of your entire staff at any time, those are the only two?
Yes.
And are they the only two going forward?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Thank you all. If there are no further questions, the board will take this matter under advisement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 4, Inshallah Inc., doing business as Crave, located at 128 Brighton Ave in Alston, dated the incident December 11th, 2022. Assault and battery by means of a deadly weapon, firearm, patron on patron in front of premise, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dennis Quilty representing the licensee. With me is Sue Chang, who's the owner operator. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez.
Lieutenant Detective Troy, if necessary.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, will you be reading the police report?
Yes, sir. I'm going to start with the original report here.
Thank you very much.
About 2:26 a.m. on Sunday, December 11th, 2022, Officers Canty and Tucker assigned to the Kilo 102 Alpha responded to a radio call for a person shot outside of Crave Chicken, 128 Brighton Ave in Austin neighborhood of Boston. Also responding with a Kilo 104 Alpha, Kilo 426, Kilo 202, Kilo 498. The District 14 Patrol Supervisor, Kilo 914, arrived and called for full notifications due to the victim's condition. Also responding were the Victor Alpha 6, the Victor 906, Victor K 980, Victor 985, the Victor Delta 214, the Victor Delta 20, Victor Delta 795, the Victor 869, and ADA Ramini also responded from the District Attorney's Office. Upon arrival, officers encountered a chaotic scene and located the victim, known to the Commonwealth, lying supine on the ground in the street, suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. Officers requested Boston EMS to the scene. Boston EMS ambulance 14 and paramedics 5 arrived and transported victim to the Brigham and Women's Medical Center. That's the first report. And then our supplemental report is going to be on Monday, December 26, 2022. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez signed to the BPD license permit responded to Crave Alston, located 128 Brighton Ave, to speak to staff regarding assault and battery with a dangerous weapon incident that occurred on December 11, 2022. That's the incident number 222-095-607. Detectives spoke to person in charge, Ms. Susan Chen, who confirmed that she was aware of the incident. Ms. Chen informed detectives that the establishment had provided surveillance video to the investigators. As a result of the incident, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 060000 for assault and battery with a dangerous weapon firearm, patron on patron in front of premise. Ms. Chen signed for an accepted notice. That's all.
Thank you very much. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may, just a couple of questions for Detective Hernandez. Morning, sir. In reading the two reports, it appears as though there's no firsthand information about what occurred other than the person was found outside. Is that correct?
I wasn't there that night, no, sir.
I understand, but I mean, in the earlier report, it too just indicates they responded to a radio call. I mean, there's no background on what had occurred.
No, just says person shot outside of Crave.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yours was 2 weeks later. I understand that you were following up.
Yes, sir.
And at that time, did Ms. Chen and the staff cooperate with you?
Yes, sir.
And she did inform you that she had provided video to the detectives. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to confirm that?
No, sir, I didn't confirm that.
Okay. But she was cooperative.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I no further questions of the detectives. Ms. Chen, can you just identify yourself here this morning? State your name for the record.
Susan Chang?
Okay, and are you the owner operator of the establishment?
Yes.
And did you provide, as a follow-up to this incident, did you provide video from your establishment to the detectives?
Yes.
Okay.
Detectives came by actually that same night. There were officers there. All our staff had to stay until about 7:30 a.m. giving testimony, but nobody on my staff team could have much to say because none of us witnessed it. We were all already closed and just cleaning and settling out. I was already in the kitchen in the back office. And then I got called out because some of my staff said that, oh, Sue, there was a shooting. And then it was someone from our security team who dialed 911 because it happened on the street right in front of our restaurant.
So it was your staff who called the police?
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. The board may have some questions for you.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
Were either of these people inside Crave at all?
To the best of my knowledge, I heard that the person who was shot was a patron inside earlier, and they parked their car right in front of our restaurant. But not sure who the shooter was.
Okay, so you don't know if the shooter was inside Crave?
No, I don't.
Detectives or Sergeant, do you guys know if the shooter was ever inside Crave?
No, not to my knowledge.
With the homicide unit, ma'am, I'm not, none of them here today to expound upon that, but we have no knowledge of that.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any questions. Commissioner Carr and Commissioner Saxon.
What time had you closed that evening?
Lights were on by 1:35. Everyone was out the door before 2 a.m. that night. We were ready to step up and go. Everyone at the bar was already done cleaning. I was already doing tip out in the back kitchen office.
And what was it like at 2 when you were getting your last patrons out?
I already went back into the office, but the security team got everybody out of there very, very quickly. And from previous incidences where we had to make sure that security team was going to stay on the lot because we didn't realize that everyone had to be off of our parking lot as well. And by 2 o'clock, latest 2:15, everybody was off the lot. But even the footage that we pulled up for detectives and stuff for the multiple cameras, it couldn't catch what happened because it happened on the street right in front of our restaurant. And they asked for footage from every single camera angle and I allowed it. Like we couldn't see anything that happened, but everything was empty off of our lot. Our lights were off. Inside, only the bar lights were on because staff was still cleaning.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
No questions from me. Thank you.
Anything further from the board?
Just a one follow-up question, Ms. Chan. What was going on that night? Was there a theme going on?
It was
Was there
the
anything that
normal,
happened inside that seemed unusual?
it was the normal like Saturdays events that we have, which is like an old school kind of hip hop or like themed event. But that night, I'm like, it just seemed regular, it was busy.
Okay. All right, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Board
Thank you.
takes- Thank you. Board will take it under advisement as well. Going on number 5, Game On Fenway LLC, doing business as Game On Sports Cafe, located at 72 to 82 Lansdowne Street, date of the incident January 8th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning again, Attorney Green, Dennis and Madam Chair members. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee with me this morning. Katina Corpines, Corvington Damon, Rufus Artefega, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I'm not sure who else. Katina?
Okay, sorry, Katina, you're on mute right now.
You're muted.
My apologies. Anybody else that's on is on for training purposes. Our COO, Vinnie Lombardi, is on just to hear what happens.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And who was present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Fencer is present if need be.
Thank you, Detective. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the incident who wish to testify this morning?
Rufus Artefega in here, with first-hand knowledge.
Great. Thank you very much. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Do.
Thank you. Detective Fencer, will you be reading the police report into the record?
Yes.
Great, you may proceed.
On Sunday, January 8th, 2023, Officer Rice in the Delta 431 Alpha and Officer Pankovich in the Delta 421 Alpha responded to a radio call for a fight at Brookline Ave and Lansdowne Street at approximately 1:31 a.m. Other responding units included Officer Albino and Enriquez in the Delta 101 Alpha, Officers Foley and Sandoval in the Delta 103 Alpha, Officers Sweeney and Feeney in the Delta 201 Alpha, Officers Waddy Niles in the Delta 499 Alpha, Officers Cavalieri and Jacobs in the Delta 105 Alpha, and Sergeant Detective Johnson, the Victor 949. Upon arrival, responding officers saw the victim, later identified as Charles Bonatakis, date of birth 5/31/2000, laying on his back on the sidewalk of Brookline Ave and Lansdowne Street. The victim was bleeding from the back of his head from an apparent laceration. EMS 3 Alpha 16, already attached to the call, arrived to the scene almost simultaneously as officers and began rendering aid to the victim on site. Multiple witnesses on scene told officers that a large white male wearing a Bruins jersey with the number 63 on it had punched the victim in the face and fled on foot down Lansdowne Street. Officers received multiple descriptions of the suspect from witnesses on scene, which were broadcast on the radio. These come from the dispatch. So it's suspect white male number 63 Bruins jersey, Brookline Ave towards Com Ave, took left on Lansdowne Street and continued down Lansdowne, approximately 6 feet to 6'3", either bald or really short hair. Delta 421 Alpha, Hargate, Chargate and Ipswich. Charles Gate, I think they mean Charles Gate and Ipswich, and then they said that 3 more times. The victim was transported by EMS 3 Alpha 16 to Beth Israel for further evaluation. Officers Albino and Enriquez, the Delta 101 Alpha, followed EMS to Beth Israel to gather information from the victim. Officer Pankovich and the Delta 421 Alpha drove down Ipswich Street, following the suspect's direction of flight, where he was able to make contact with a person matching the suspect's description, later identified as Christopher Wellburn, date of birth 5/6/1991. Officer Pankovich spoke with Mr. Wellburn, who stated that he was jumped by an individual at the bar. The officer asked for identification, and Mr. Wellburn provided a valid Mass driver's license, as well as offering his police ID. Officers on scene notified Patrol Supervisor Sergeant Detective Johnson, who arrived on scene. Officers utilized callbacks in order to contact witnesses available for the bring back identification process. Sergeant Detective Johnson, the Victor 949, was able to pick the witnesses up and read them their instructions from the show up field view witness instruction card. The suspect was standing alone in a well-lit area without restraints from the bring back identification process. The following are statements made by witnesses to officers after the bring back identification process that was conducted. Trevor Handlovich told officers that he was 95% sure that Mr. Wellburn was the suspect in question. John Lepovich told officers that he believed that Mr. Wellburn was the individual involved in the fight. Rick McNulty told officers that Mr. Wellburn was the guy walking away after the fight. Matt Walsh told officers that he was positive Mr. Wellburn was the suspect in question. Officers Albino and Enriquez in the Delta 101 Alpha spoke with the victim while at Beth Israel. The victim told officers that he was punched with a closed fist in the left eye, though he does not know who hit him. Officers Cavalieri and Jacobs transported Mr. Wellborn to a local hotel in order to obtain an Uber home. At about 3 p.m. on 1/8/2023, Officer Kovaleski spoke with the victim Bonatakis at the District 4 police station. Officer spoke with the victim Bonatakis, who came to the police station to file a police report following the incident last night. Bonatakis stated he did not remember anything from the night before. Bonatakis further stated that his gold chain was stolen from him by the suspect Wellborn. Bonatakis informed the officer that following the incident, he was taken to Beth Israel Hospital, where he received 10 staples in the back of his head. District 4 detectives notified Detective McCarthy, the Delta 803, who responded to District 4 lobby and photographed the victim's injuries. This is a follow-up report from Lieutenant Detective Hopkins. The incident is being investigated by District 4 detectives. After reviewing the video of the incident, it's still remaining an assault and battery investigation. The victim reported on a supplemental report later that day that he was robbed of his gold chain during the incident. Immediately after the assault, a person was detained and positively ID'd as assault by witness after a bringback was conducted. The video recovered shows another male as the assailant, not the individual who was being ID'd of the person who struck him. And this is a report by myself and Detective Stoddard on 1/19/2023. Myself, Detective Fence from the Delta 801, along with Detective Stoddard and the Delta 843 responded to the Game On Bar located on 82 Lansdowne Street and issued Boston Police Department license premise inspection notice citation 026482 for an assault and battery patron on patron.
Thank you, Detective Fencer. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may, excuse me, Detective, excuse me, according to these reports, the incident, whatever had occurred, had already happened by the time the police arrived on scene. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And your incident report violation notice indicates that the management cooperated with you. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And it indicates the police were called, yes, by whom is not indicated. We are of the understanding that Mr. Arafega is the one who directed the police to be called. Is that your knowledge as well? One of the employees?
That's my knowledge, yes.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions. Mr. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Artefage?
All right, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Tough one.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So were you working the night in question?
Yes, I was. I was a manager on duty.
Okay, and the internal records indicated that you yelled out, "Call 911" the minute you observed this happen. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And as a result, did the police arrive?
Yes, sir.
And did you stand by? Did you assist the person who had been struck?
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
I was getting instructions from the guy on the phone from the EMS to put pressure on the head with a towel if we had one. So I instructed one of my staff to go get a towel in which she had it placed on the back of his head and applied pressure.
And can you tell the board, did this incident, to the best of your knowledge, did this occur outside the premises at or after closing time?
It occurred outside the premises. At the moment, we're still open, but once the altercation happened, we closed the doors down for the night, and it was exit only.
Okay. And did you and other staff members, in your opinion, did you and other staff members do everything you could in the circumstances to help the victim and assist the police?
We did, yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. The board may have some questions for you.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
Yes. In the police report, it says that the victim was jumped by an individual at the bar. I don't know if the manager is aware of something happening inside the bar, or if the detectives can elaborate about that statement.
Everything happened outside the bar. There was no incident of any fight whatsoever that night inside the bar.
I can also speak to that. We watched extensive video inside and outside the bar, and there was no altercation that we saw inside the bar. Everything happened outside.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, just to be clear, that person was the alleged perpetrator who said that. Is that, I think, Mr.
It
Wellman?
is. That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. I see what you're saying. All right, I have no further questions. Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon?
And just for clarity, the alleged perpetrator might not be the actual perpetrator. There might have been a third person.
So he is not, yeah. So the actual perpetrator who was wearing the number 63 Bruins jersey,
Yeah.
he was positively identified by people there. He was there, but he wasn't the person that struck the individual.
Okay, so the guy who you got that evening for the take back, he was around, but he wasn't the puncher.
Yes, he was there, and I think my knowledge of this, I think he was wearing a Marchand jersey, which was pretty distinctive, and he was 6'3", and he was like next to the incident. So people just said, "Oh yeah, that's him." You know.
Okay.
So, but watching the video, I can tell you that he did not strike him.
Okay. So how did this kind of arise outside? How long did it go on? Was it like a long shouting match and then it came to blows, or what?
So there was about 25 people that were originally out there. The victim was out there, and he had gotten involved in an altercation with someone else that was not reported, just kind of like a shoving match. And then the victim was being, the guy in the Bruins jersey was telling him to kind of leave, to go down the street. And the victim didn't want to go down. And he kept coming back and coming back. And then this other individual came up to him and he hit him.
Okay, and
Does
how
that
long
sound-
did?
does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was trying to get at. How long did all that take?
I would say approximately maybe 5 to 10 minutes. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people outside. There was a lot of kind of commotion because the bar was exiting, you know, and a lot of people were coming out.
Was the staff intervening in this 5 minutes at all?
Well, it happened on the sidewalk almost into the street. So they were pretty much staying by the door, but they were absolutely, I mean, from what I remember, from what I saw, they were absolutely helping. Yes. You know,
Okay.
Doing their jobs. They were all doing their jobs. Yes.
All right, that's all I have then. Thank you.
So do we have the video or will we receive it?
I have the video. I haven't, I don't know if we forwarded it to you guys yet.
We
I
have not
have-
received any video of this. Oh, excuse me?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I do have surveillance footage of the actual incident that I have prepared and can send to the board like I have in the past.
Great, thank you. I'll make sure that's shared with the commissioners when we receive it.
And I just want to note that the timestamp on the video is an hour ahead because it's due to the daylight savings time that took place in November. The clock has to be manually changed. So the incident took place at approximately like 1:15 in the morning, but the timestamp on the video reflects 2:15, and that is incorrect.
Great, thank you for that. We'll be on the lookout for that video. Anything further from the board? Board will take this under advisement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling item number 6, Los Arrieros Restaurant, Inc., doing business as Los Arrieros Restaurant, located at 13 to 15 Meridian Street in East Boston, dated the incident February 12th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, everyone. Andrew Upton for the licensee. With me is Antonio Ospina, who is the owner and manager of record. With him is Anthony Ospina, his son, who will hopefully help with translation because Mr. Ospina's English is not quite as proficient.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Good morning, Detective William Samaras, A7 Detectives.
And Police Officer Maldonado.
Thank you very much. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
Detective William Samaras.
You may proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
About 6:10 p.m. on Sunday, February 12th, 2023, Officers Maldonado and Burns, assigned to the Gold 101 Frank, responded to a radio call for an assault and battery in progress at 13 Meridian Street, Boston. Upon arrival, the officers arrived at the licensed premise Los Arrieros at the address above. The officers then met with the victim, Noor El Abadi, who stated that he had been punched inside the bar by another patron while exiting the bathroom. The victim describes the suspect as a Hispanic male with light brown skin, about 5'7" in height, wearing black jacket and shorts. The officers noticed that the victim had what appeared to be a cut above the left eye. The victim stated to officers that when he was punched, he lost his left eyesight for approximately 30 seconds. The officers then spoke with Sebastian Gil Lapera, security, and Antonio Ospina, the owner, who corroborated the information the victim gave. They added that the suspect and the victim had a minor encounter at the bathroom door. They shoved each other, and then the assault and battery took place. The nature of the incident was unknown to them. The owner added that the suspect was accompanied by a white Hispanic male, about 6'1" in height, wearing all white, with a directional flight heading towards Central Square. The officers radioed over the air the description and given of the suspects for any units responding to canvass the area. No suspects matching the description were found. The officers requested EMS Unit Alpha 07 responded to the scene, and EMTs Lord and McGovern evaluated the victim. The victim was transferred to Mass General Hospital for further evaluation. The officers requested Patrol Supervisor Sergeant Coughlin to Gold 905 for a code 35 of the premise. Ticket number 008048 filed by Sergeant Coughlin and handed to the owner of the premise. A7 Detectives Espino, the Gold 816, and Samaras, the Gold 837 were notified. Detectives took pictures of the injury and reviewed CCTV with the owner of the incident.
Thank you, Detective. Attorney Upton, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. Detective, if I may, were the owners and staff cooperative with your investigation?
Very cooperative, yes.
All right. That's all I have for the detective. I would like to ask a few questions and get some detail from the Ospinas. Do you need to swear them in?
They've been sworn in.
Okay. First, I will say that Los Arrieros is a family business owned by Mr. Ospina. They've been in this location for about 30 years. They have a great record. It's a small family place. So that just gives you a little bit of context. Anthony, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Can you tell the board if you've had any violations in recent years?
We have not. We're a small, quiet place. Rarely have any issues.
Okay. How often is Gil your security man on duty?
He's there Thursday through Sunday.
So he was there this night?
Correct.
Okay. What happened with this incident?
The two guys started arguing, and then as soon as we saw that, Gil and my father Antonio broke it up.
How long was it between the start of the fight and Gil and your father getting involved?
Approximately 30 seconds. That you can see in the video.
Okay. How old's your father?
He is, what's his name? 73.
73, and he rushed right into the fray?
Correct.
All right. Can you ask your father if he helped the victim?
Salió a la persona que estaba herida.
No,
Solo ayudó.
la ayudé, sí. Le puse hielo y le di la servilleta.
He said that he did help him, and he gave him ice and a napkin.
Okay. Did your father call the police?
Que se llamó la policía.
No, le pregunté al vigilante que si la había llamado y el vigilante me dijo que la llamó el señor.
He says that he was going to call the police, but the victim in hand called before they could get a chance to.
And did the police still come? Did they come quickly?
They did.
Okay. What, if anything, have you done since that night to prevent further problems?
From my conversation with my father, we have banned the client, both gentlemen, from the establishment. And then we also have added more security cameras to the establishment.
Okay, so both parties who were involved in the argument are
Correct.
banned?
Correct.
All right. Thank you very much. To the board, I would just like to say that we have submitted video of this incident. I think it will corroborate what the Ospinas are saying. It's evident that from this argument in the bathroom to Mr. Ospina and the security guy rushing in to break them up is about 47 seconds. You know, they did the right thing. It was clearly not foreseeable that these two people would argue about something that happened outside the bathroom door. They did a good job. Mr. Ospina himself was right on scene trying to break it up. They called the police, they offered assistance. And with that, we're glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. That video was received and shared with the board yesterday. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
No, just appreciate the video. It was clear and we were able to review it. Thank you.
Commissioner Curran, any questions?
Did you know these patrons before you figured out who they were and banned them?
Que si usted conocía a los clientes que estaban ahí antes de decirles que no podían volver al lugar.
Sí.
So he said that one of them was a regular and the other gentleman was not.
And who was the regular?
The gentleman that was injured.
Okay, and had you had any issues with him that evening?
No.
Or before?
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
No questions made. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The board will take this under advisement.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Calling item number 7, MW&W Inc., doing business as China Pearl Restaurant located at 5 to 9A Tyler Street. Dated the incident February 5th, 2023, premise conducting bottle service without Boston Licensing Board permission in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Adam Barnowski. I'm an attorney on behalf of the licensee, 255 State Street in Boston. With me is Brian Moy, who is the owner of the restaurant, as well as Ty Miller, the manager on site the evening in question.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
William Gallagher.
Detective Hernandez if needed.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? You all please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if you could please proceed with reading the police report into the record.
Yes, good morning. On 2/5/2023 at 12:45 a.m., Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to licensed premise unit, conducted a licensed premise inspection of China Pearl at 9 Tyler Street. Detectives wanted to speak to management about reports of the premise staying open past its posted 2 a.m. closing. Inside the premise, detectives observed a bottle service taking place with a bottle of tequila left unattended on a table of patrons who were openly smoking marijuana. Detectives brought this to the attention of the manager, Ty Miller, who believed his current liquor license allowed for the practice. Detectives re-inspected the premises liquor license and failed to observe the allowance of bottle service. As a result, what was observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice number 060143 to China Pearl for premise conducting bottle service without Boston Licensing Board approval. Mr. Ty Miller signed for and accepted the notice attached to the report. I'm not sure you can see these here, but we do have pictures of the setup for the bottle service. You can see the mixes and the glasses and ice. There's 2 pictures. They're both black and white, but they were attached to the original report as well.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective. Attorney Barnowski, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you, Attorney Green. Just one question for Sergeant Detective. Good morning. Was the licensee and Mr. Miller cooperative during your discussions on the night in question?
Yes, sir, they were.
Okay, thank you. And I have a few questions for the licensee as well, but just want to at the outset provide some information to the board, which I think the police report and the record will show through the licensee's testimony. So the night in question, the licensee was permitted to operate and have a DJ on site. It was the DJ and some of the DJ's guests that were in a section of the restaurant that was roped off. And they were provided with a bottle at this time. The bottle was being served by a staff member named Nair Pinta, who did have the bottle within their control during the time that it was being consumed. That bottle service here is not a widespread practice. As the report indicated, the manager, Mr. Miller, believed that bottle service was allowed. He was operating under that assumption, was operating within the general rules for bottle service, was not aware that a special designation was required. That's not an excuse here, certainly, but it is an explanation as to what happened that night. The licensee takes it very seriously. It's my understanding that the Monday after this incident, Mr. Moy went to the licensing board and immediately applied for bottle service. He is also going through the process of applying for zoning for entertainment. So he's doing those 2 things in conjunction. So that application is in process, I believe, with the board. They're going through the community process now, and we don't anticipate that there will be a hearing on that for a number of weeks. But since that time, they have ceased bottle service. They understand that this is a special designation that the board does require. And with that, I would like just to ask a few questions of Mr. Miller, if he is on the line here. So Mr. Miller, could you say your name for the record?
Ty Miller.
Thanks. And what is your role at the restaurant?
I am the manager.
And thank you. And you were on site the evening in question?
Yes, sir.
And could you provide some details relative to the DJ and bottle service that occurred?
Yeah, so we had a overseas DJ come in. He's pretty big in that industry. He on his rider package, he requested a bottle service, not bottle service, but just a bottle, and just have a section roped off. And we obliged, given that we had a staff member to be there with them the whole time. And that's pretty much how that went about.
And can you confirm whether the licensee has ceased the practice of bottle service since the night in question?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. No further questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Yes, Sergeant Gallagher or Detective Hernandez? Was there someone with the bottle? Was there a staff member there?
No, ma'am. When I was standing by the bar, just to clarify, when I was standing by the bar, I saw, as Sergeant Gallagher was talking to, I believe it might have been Ty there. I saw somebody run up to the bartender, and the bartender that was behind the bar ran over to where that group was, and that's when I walked over there and I saw that the bottle was unattended, and that's where everybody was smoking weed there. I mean, there was a big group, and that's where the bartender immediately grabbed the bottle. And I snapped a picture just right after she had grabbed the bottle that was inside the bucket there, just for clarification purposes.
Okay, so Ty or Mr. Moy, what's the deal with thinking you had the permission to have bottle service in your license? I think Mr. Moy, you've been manager of record for quite some time.
I have, yes, unfortunately. Honestly, I was unaware that there was a specific license for bottle service. I understood that rules and regulations to bottle service in terms of having staff present at times. Patrons may not touch the bottle. Always the bottle has to be served from the staff itself. But honestly, I just never knew that there was that particular license. So I do apologize about that, operating with that assumption. And as soon as this incident happened the following Monday, I did apply instantly for that. But that was why we had the bottle service, and ever since then we have not allowed it at all.
So let's assume you thought you're operating properly with the proper license. Do you disagree that the bottle was left unattended?
No, I do believe that there was one particular person that was dedicated to that area. They typically do tag team out if there is something that's needed, whether they're going to the restroom, whether they're going to get some equipment, such as straws, papers, etc. Typically the busser and or another waitress would tag out. I cannot speak to say exactly which staff member was there, but we definitely go through the training process through that. So to my understanding, there was always a staff member at that section.
Okay, and why were people smoking marijuana openly?
That I would have to say I disagree. I know that this has been raised multiple times. We have a policy in place that there is a male and a female security at the front door. We take all lighters during the pat down. We actually have a box where we take paraphernalia, we take lighters. Guests are told that they can take it back on their way out, or they can go back to their vehicle and drop it off. We take as much precaution as we possibly can to eliminate possible smoking. If we find cigars, rolling papers, those type of things, we do confiscate them and put them into a box at the front door upon when they enter.
Okay. If that's your testimony, I'll take that as your testimony if that's what you're testifying to today.
There are plenty of
Um,
smoking marijuana there, ma'am. You can
okay.
smell it and see it very easily. That's
Yeah,
why.
that's the thing with marijuana, you can usually smell it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've kicked people out because of that ever since that, which is why we take all the lighters out of people's hands at this point. You know,
Do you
we,
need a lighter for like a vape, for vaping? I'm not sure.
not for vaping.
Yeah.
Vaping is an electronic device that does not take any fire ignition. That
Okay,
is true.
thank you. I have no questions.
Commissioner Curran, any questions?
I have nothing to add, no, thank you.
Commissioner Saxon?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this under advisement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And calling item number 8, Guzman LLC doing business as Medallo located at 411 Chelsea Street in East Boston. Date of the incident, February 6th, 2023. Premise providing bottle service without Boston Licensing Board permission in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon.
Luis Maldonado. I'm sorry.
And good morning, Attorney Michael Brown. I represent Luis.
Great, thank you very much. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am, sir, Detective Hernandez.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Mr. Maldonado, are you? I can't tell. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Detective Hernandez, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report, which I wrote on Monday, February 6, 2023. Charged Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the BPD license premise unit conducted a license premise inspection of Medallo located at 411 Chelsea Street in East Boston. While walking through the establishment, detectives observed patrons sitting at a table with a carafe of hard alcohol, aguardiente placed on the table. The bottle was left unattended and made available for self-service access to make beverages. Detectives informed the person in charge, Mr. Luis Maldonado, that this is prohibited practice. Bottle service is not condition allowed on the establishment common victual license. Mr. Maldonado stated he would immediately correct the situation. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 060147 for premise providing bottle service without approval of the Boston Licensing Board. Mr. Maldonado signed for and accepted the notice. And there is a dark picture here. We did provide a color picture of what we saw that night. That's all.
Thank you. Yep, we do have that photograph. It's been shared with the board. Attorney Brown, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, I just have one question for Detective Hernandez or Detective Gallagher, whoever is best to answer. Mr. Hernandez, would that be you?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so my one question is, when you spoke with Mr. Maldonado on the date of the incident, was he cooperative and was he, helpful with your investigation?
Extremely, yeah, very helpful.
Great. I have no further questions for the detectives. And then to further address too as well, I can obviously Mr. Maldonado is available to speak and answer questions on behalf of the board, but as mentioned by Detective Hernandez, Mr. Maldonado was very cooperative and simply did not understand that this type of bottle service was prohibited practice under his license. And with that being said, he was cooperative and immediately wanted to rectify the situation and then immediately filed an application with the board to have that permission, have that certain caveat on his license to do a bottle service practice. He at that hearing understand that it went well and the board was receptive to his application. And also with that, he provided a security plan where, he is no longer going to have, he's going to have a dedicated server and a dedicated wait staff to have the bottle go behind the bar and, and basically adhere to all of the license requirements.
Thank you. Anything further, Attorney Brown?
No.
Okay. Thank you. I'll turn it over to the board for any questions. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
I was just looking at the docket sheet. It looks like your application for bottle service was deferred for community process. Where are you on that?
Luis, are you?
Yes.
I'm not too sure what, I'm not involved in that application. I think Luis would be better.
Okay,
applicant,
Luis,
sir.
you applied
Yes.
for bottle service and we deferred our vote because you had not completed the community process. How is that going?
Oh, that going. I sent in. I'm sending an email already. To Marie, I think it is, and then she emailed to me a week ago, so I think I already sent it to her back email
Okay,
about that.
thank you. Hopefully we'll have more information soon. I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Curran, any questions?
And nothing further from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Saxon?
None for me either. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
And calling item number 9, New Well Liquors, Inc., doing business as Walsh Wine and Spirits, located at 388 Washington Street in Brighton. Date of the incident, February 10th, 2023. Alcohol service to a person under 21 in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34 to 34A, 41, 64, 64A, and Board's Rule 1.08F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Stephanie Boudreau here from R Law on behalf of the licensee. And I believe I have Mr. Shretha, who is the manager of record here as well. Roj, are you here?
Looking to see if he is, he would be under a different name and is not on video right now either.
Okay. Well, I can present on his behalf or I can text him.
We're going to move forward with this one, so you can text him and read it into the record.
Okay.
This will not be deferred today.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective William Gallagher.
Detective Eddie Hernandez if needed.
Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Thank you. All parties have been sworn in. At this point, since we don't have a witness with us. With that being said, who will be reading the police report into the record?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher will be.
Thank you. You may please proceed.
On 2/10/2023 at 10:55 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD licensed premise unit monitoring Walsh's Liquor Store at 388 Washington Street for underage sales of liquor. Detectives made observations of a young male, later identified as Charles LaRosa, date of birth 4/27/2004 of New Jersey, carrying multiple packages of alcohol, natural light beer, 30-pack, bottle of vodka, and a 12-pack of beatbox liquor. Detectives observed this male walk to the rear of the premise where he met 2 other males that looked to be under 21 years. Detectives exited their unmarked cruiser, identified themselves as BPD detectives, and requested IDs from all 3 males to confirm that they're old enough to possess alcohol. One of the males provided Sergeant Detective with a fraudulent California driver's license. This male was identified as Tyler Allen Wall, date of birth 5/31/2004 of California. Mr. Wall was also found to be carrying a backpack full of alcohol, Tito's vodka, and 5 containers of beatbox liquor, 1 bottle of pink lemonade vodka. Both Mr. LaRosa and Mr. Wall were placed under arrest and transported to D4 by the Kilo 103 and the Kilo 104. The 3rd male was identified as Sebastian Marisal, date of birth 4/15/2004 of Boston College. Mr. Marisal will be summoned into court for being a person under 21 in possession of alcohol. At D14, a fraudulent Delaware license was found on Mr. LaRosa. The ID was in his name with the date of birth of 4/27/2001. Mr. Wall and Mr. LaRosa were both to be charged with fraudulent RMV documents and persons under 21 in possession of alcohol. The fake IDs were seized and will be presented at court. In addition, Mr. LaRosa will be charged with procuring alcohol for persons under 21. We flip through. I think there should be a supplement as well. Supplement was written by myself on 2/10/2023 at 11:05 p.m. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to licensed premise unit, issued licensed premise inspection notice number 060151 to Walsh's Liquors at 388 Washington Street. This notice was issued after detectives observed a under 21 male identified as Charles LaRosa, 4/27/2004, New Jersey, purchased liquor. The notice was signed by Mr. Sharish. Detectives observed detectives stressed the importance of obtaining good scanning device. And those essentially are the facts. We do have pictures of all the alcohol that was observed and seized and destroyed that night. Second picture as well. This is all purchased from inside the store. And last picture right here. This is what that male exited with. Those essentially are the facts.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective. And I know that we have been joined by someone with a 617 phone number. Is that Mr. Shesta? Do you know if he has joined us, Attorney Boudreau?
He has joined us by phone. I'm not sure if his video works. I know he can hear. I can present on his behalf.
Thank you. The board may have some
and,
questions for him as well, so we will try to swear him in. Mr. Shesta, can you hear us? Are you able to unmute yourself? If not, we'll move forward. All right, Attorney Boudreau, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Sure. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Stephanie Boudreau for Welch's Liquor, who operates a Section 15 license at 388 Washington Street in Brighton. We were before the board on March 6th for a similar violation. At that time, Mr. Shretha represented that he was in the process of upgrading his ID scanning system and hadn't done so. So the first violation that we were here on was in December, and then this violation happened in February. Between the December violation and the March and the February violation, Mr. Shretha had not updated to IntelliCheck, which is the scanning service that allows you to identify actually a fake ID, which the detectives recommended he obtain. When we were here on March 6th, you'll remember Mr. Shretha said that he was working in the process of upgrading his license checking and scanning system, and he has since done so. The incident in question again happened before the last hearing, before he had the opportunity to update his scanners. When these individuals walked into the store, he verified their IDs as he had been previously. He noted that they all looked over 21, and he, did what he had been doing previously to check the IDs. Since the March 6th hearing, he has successfully installed and activated IntelliCheck, has since that time seized over 60 fake IDs, and has not had any issues since this February 10th incident. He's doing everything he can he's trained his staff to use the IntelliCheck. He's trained his staff to look for intoxication, visibly identify the individuals to see if they do in fact look over 21. He has signs at his door and signs over his register that they are doing the ID checking. And, it seems to me that that the shop was identified by college students and other locals as someplace that was an easy target. And since he's installed this new IntelliCheck system, he has not had any issues. And like I said, he's seized over 60 fake IDs. So we would ask that the board take into consideration the fact that between the initial hearing, the initial violation and the second violation, he hadn't had the opportunity to update his systems and has now done so, and is doing everything in his power to make sure that this incident and incidents similar don't happen again.
Thank you, Attorney Boudreau. It actually looks like we've maybe been joined by Mr. Shretha, not by phone. Let me just ask once again, Mr. Shretha, are you with us and can you hear us? Okay. Just going to give another chance. All right, we'll move over to questions then. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions of Attorney Boudreau or the officers?
I do. So is he here? The manager?
He says he can hear, but
Can he get
I
off?
just ask
mute?
him.
I mean, if he doesn't want to answer the questions, I don't know how we go forward. The questions are for him.
Right. Just give me 1 second. I know that he has been on the hearing since the beginning and believed that everything was in working order, and it wasn't until he tried to actually get onto the hearing live that he recognized that there was an issue. So unfortunately, because we're last, I can't even ask for a delay.
What is the action?
I
What is
can
the
read.
action
I
taken
can.
with
I'm
Telephone
sorry.
to get it off mute. Does anyone know? Can anyone state it? How do you get it off mute when you're on telephone? I've never called into Zoom on telephone.
I think there's an unmute button, just like there is on a computer. I'm texting with him. I can relay questions, but I'm not sure that that's as
This is a
straightforward.
pretty
as you
serious
want.
violation. These are 18-year-olds with fake IDs for the second time in 2 months at a package store. I don't think texting and relaying the message is adequate for a hearing of this nature. If your client does, well, you know, I don't know. If he doesn't think it's important enough to check his video and audio before, that's not my problem.
I'd like to just say he doesn't take this lightly. I mean, it may seem because he's having technical difficulties, but that should not be conceived as him taking this lightly.
How old do these people look? It says in the police report, but I can't pull it up right now.
2004, ma'am, they looked
Under
really
21.
old. Yeah, the other two, everyone else was outside. This one person walked in. The other three were waiting around the back.
Okay.
Sorry, just briefly, sorry to interject. It appears that you can unmute by pressing *6 if you're on a phone. So Mr. Tresla, if you're able to hear us, if you can press *6 if you're on your phone, you may be able to join the conversation.
Hello.
There we go. Mr. Tresla, thank you for being with us. Let me just ask you quickly, before you provide any testimony, I'm going to have to swear you in. You're not able to put on video right now, correct?
Yeah, I cannot come on a video.
Can you please affirm to the board that you are raising your right hand?
Yes.
Thank you. And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. So Chairman Joyce, I'm sorry, did you have a question for the licensee?
Yeah, doing some quick math here. This person was 18 years old and had an out-of-state ID. At the time, what was your policy for accepting out-of-state IDs?
So we do have an ID scanner. At that time, we don't know it's called like fake or real ID. So when I got the first violation, I tried to get like lots of ID scanner, and after that I called my POS system and they said they can scan the IDs. That's why I put the scan ID. So I don't know, it doesn't show fake or real, it just verify date of birth.
Okay, but on February 10th, when you were written up for alcohol service to a person under 21, what was your process for validating out-of-state IDs as being over 21?
He seems like over 21, so I asked for him an ID and I scanned the ID. It seems it shows like okay to serve the alcohol, then I serve him. So I don't know.
You did scan an ID that night?
Sorry?
Attorney Boudreau, is he saying that he scanned this ID that night?
He had a
Yes,
system.
I scanned.
Sorry, let me try to explain. Initially, he had obtained a system that scanned the ID for the age, but it didn't scan it as a fake ID. So the system that the detective suggested he obtain now identifies, and I'm not sure exactly how it works, the technology, but now identifies fake IDs. He did have a scanner that was attached to his POS system, and that checked the age. So it was just like an age checker. But again, now he's updated it to the system that the detectives recommended.
Okay,
Yeah, I asked the detective like which kind of they are using, and he recommended the Intel Tech ID. And after that, from the next day, I tried to get touch base with them. After 3 weeks, they called me back, and I installed the Intel Tech ID. And after that, I have, he said, more than 60 or 70 fake IDs I do have. So,
okay,
and I trained my employee to just check the ID of whoever coming in the store. And if they found the fake ID, they keep it here, and we set them to walk out without selling.
so at the time, you really had no policy in place for verifying out-of-state IDs?
On the first violation, I don't have. After that, I do have the ID scanner, but it doesn't says me fake or real. It just said the age verified.
Okay.
So I don't know which is working or not, because in the market they have like lots of ID scanners. So I don't know.
Yeah, it might be worth
It's,
investing
I
in a
thought-
sophisticated one. Your attorney stated at the beginning of the hearing that it's known in the community that a lot of college students and community members that are underage frequent your establishment. So I think it might be a good business decision to invest in something that's a little bit more sophisticated and that can actually flesh out fake IDs.
Commissioner Joyce, he has since invested in this IntelliCheck, which was what was recommended by the detectives. And he has since, like I said, seized over 60 licenses. So now the system that he has is definitely working, or definitely seems to be working. And there have been no issues since February 10th.
Okay. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
Okay, so you were cited in December of 2022 for service 221, correct?
Yes.
In response to that citation, I know we hadn't had the hearing yet, but just in response to having that incident cited to you, what did you do to shore up your ID checking?
After the first violation,
After December, yeah, December 20th.
yeah, I tried to get the ID scanner, and I don't know which I have to get, which one is the best.
No,
and then I called.
I know you were making an attempt. What did you do on a night-to-night basis after December 20th to shore up that you were making sure that you weren't selling to under 21?
Yeah, we make sure we are not selling the underage. That's why we have, first of all, we check the ID, and if we think like they are underage, we ask them like a cross question, like date of birth, what is the address, and if says like correctly, and if they say like not nervously, not fairness, so we sell them if if scanner says okay to sell.
Okay, but you do realize that, you know, a lot of these fake IDs, they're coming with, the only date is being changed is the year of birth, correct? You realize that?
Sorry, I just hear like a little bit barely.
So-
Give me a second.
The fake IDs we're seeing in the market, I hope you're aware that the young people, they're only changing the date of the year of birth. They're keeping their real month and day. Are you aware of that?
No, I don't really aware of that, because we do have, sometimes we seems like they are fake, and I'll ask them, it seems like fake ID. They said, no, it's real. So sometimes we refuse to sell them too. It seems like they are underage.
So the last thing I want to say is more in the way of a note, you know, a warning. I know you've gotten this IntelliCheck, and we've had, you know, we've been hearing good results and that it works pretty well. But it's not 100% that it's going to cover you if one of these IDs gets passed. I suggest you look into what is going on in the community as far as how these IDs are being presented, what they look like, what information is going to be on them, and how you can combat young people trying to trick you, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to trick you, and you need to be aware of how they're trying to trick you and take measures in order to combat that. Okay?
Okay, sure.
And one of them is to require one of the statutorily protected ID types, Massachusetts ID, passport, military ID, okay?
Sure.
You don't have as much protection with out-of-state IDs, and that's just a fact.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
I'm just curious, how many fake IDs did you catch between December and February?
I just counted, it's 102.
And that's between December and February?
No, between when I get the Inteltech ID.
No, I'm actually talking about how many fake IDs did you catch before you got your intelligence? I'm just curious.
Before that, we just got like a few. It seems like when we ask them ID and they seems like a little bit nervous or something, like we tell them it seems like fake, and some people they just walk away with like leave the ID and they walk away, and some people just arguing to it's not fake, it's real, and if we feel like it's really fake but we cannot have ID scanner, so we just sometimes we refuse them to sell the liquor.
Anything further from the board? Thank you. Board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Those are all the items before the board this
Thank
morning.
you.
That will adjourn this morning's hearing. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.